enjoyed with sugar and milk. Also, you can serve your akara the burger way, which is called akara burger. Eating akara with a sweet loaf of bread is another delicious way to enjoy the meal. Akara in this instance serves as a filling for the bread, just like a burger. This is perhaps why it is popularly known as akara burger.
All right, good morning and welcome to our home, to our humble abode here on LN 24/7. It's this morning on the morning show, and my name is Henry Williams.
My name is Zoe McDarlington Esada. Welcome. It's the first day in the month. Congratulations. So welcome to the month of July and, of course, the morning show. Good morning, Henry. Happy new month.
Good morning, Zoe. Happy new month. And yes, another month comes through, and this is the seventh month of the year, if I'm correct. Yes, it is.
So,
the
yes,
seventh month of the year. So the year is, racing, and I hope that you're taking every advantage of every opportunity. It's all about opportunities, and it's all about purpose. And this morning, I just want to say, whatever you do, make sure that you are purpose-driven. That will determine how much you accomplish. It will make the difference between you starting and you finishing. Well, here we are at the beginning of the program, and it's great to have you join us, and certainly because we are driven by a purpose to make sure that you are on top of your day. We certainly hope we will be finishing on a high, right, Zoe?
Absolutely, totally.
So quickly, let's take you to our top stories on today's edition of the program, where we start in the news. Tinubu U.S. amnesty condemn horrific Borno blast, mourn victims.
And on this morning discussion, we're looking at Nigeria ID system, data breach and privacy concerns.
And also in the news, 1 killed as 20 inmates stage Pakistan jailbreak.
And also later on the morning show today, we are going to be taking a look at community development through advocacy and empowerment. You should love that one.
All right, with that, join us again on the other side for what's on the front burner. All right, great to have you back. You're watching This Morning on LN 24/7. So if you just joined us, you are right on time for what we're bringing to you on What's on the Front Burner. I'd like to warn, it's not very pleasant stories that we have for you this morning. Some heart-rending stories of terror attacks in the country. I'll start with this one. Now, where President Bola Tinubu has condemned Saturday's suicide bomb blast in Borno State. He described it as desperate act of terror. 18 people were killed when 4 suicide bombers set off improvised explosive devices or IEDs in Gwoza, northeastern state. Hours later, the presidency issued a statement commiserating with the victims' families, as well as the Borno State government in a statement Sunday. Presidential spokesman Hajuri Ngelale conveyed the president's condolence message. And Tinubu said that the purveyors of wanton violence shall have a certain encounter with justice, and that these cowardly attacks are only but an isolated episode, as his government will not allow the nation to slither into an era of fear, tears, sorrow, and blood. The Commander-in-Chief maintained that his administration is taking necessary measures to secure citizens, stressing that the efforts will be redoubled to ensure that those who trouble the nation, dispatching precious lives and disrupting law and order, are completely removed.
All right, I think we should get to the second one, because I think they're kind of connected. The second story talks about the 2 female suicide bombers which have been arrested in Borno State, southeast Nigeria, in connection with the detonation of improvised explosive devices or IEDs in Gwoza, according to authorities on Sunday. A local government official who confirmed this to local news TV said 30 of the female suicide bombers were sent into Gwoza to detonate the improvised explosive devices at different locations within the area. According to the source, only 4 suicide bombers exploded so far. She explained that one of the female bombers that came from Pulka Axis was responding to military interrogation at the checkpoint when she panicked and detonated the IED, killing herself, the soldier, and the civilian JTF member. It was gathered that the women got into Gwoza from different locations, some from Pulka and others from the Mandara Mountains. The attack, one of the deadliest reported in the state in recent months, have injured over 30 persons, and the degree of injuries range from abdominal ruptures to skull and limb fractures. The Director General of SEMA, Barkindo Saidu, said he witnessed the first blast. Moving on, while emergency officials were in the hospital coordinating the rescue mission, a 4th blast was set off by a female teenager.
So what's traumatizing for me, shocking me to my bones, in fact, one of the women, one of the terrorists, had a baby strapped to her back. So that's the level, that is the extent to which these terrorists are willing to go. It's such an inhumane act. Well, that's not all on the front burner. A recent outbreak of the disease in Nigeria, according to experts, is partly due to the increasing rate of drinking untreated and unsafe water. As we're talking about cholera now in Nigeria's commercial hub of Lagos. Now, health authorities declared a cholera outbreak on the 15th of June 2024, when 436 suspected were reported. According to experts, many Nigerian families take drinking water from unsafe water sources and reservoirs. They are not properly treated with chlorine or water guards. The outbreak comes at a time when the prices of sachet water, Nigeria's most common and cheapest source of safe drinking water, went out of the reach of the masses. Prices of sachet water recently skyrocketed, with retailers selling a bag for between 300 and 400 naira, 1 or 2 sachets for 50 or more, depending on the location. Some say even 100 naira. And temperatures of water bags have forced many to depend on boreholes and other unsafe sources of water to meet their drinking water needs. NCDC reported a total of 1,141 suspected cases of 65 confirmed cases of cholera, 30 deaths from 96 local government areas in 30 states of the Federation from the 1st of January to the 11th of June. I hope you're happy now. And this is what we were talking about. Cost of production will definitely be hit. When we're talking to one of the distribution company bosses on this station, we said, look, the commercial, those are in the private sector, will push their cost onto the people. And I said, no, it's there are different rates for different areas, and it doesn't work that way. It's not going to happen. So now we see the resultant effect. The fact that even the thing that is free in nature, water,
has all of a sudden become
a luxury to Nigerians. Okay, we still have one more story, I think.
Yes, and that is connected, talking cholera. Meanwhile, the federal government of Nigeria is collaborating with the Vaccine Alliance, Gavi, to secure emergency vaccine donations in anticipation of a potential cholera outbreak nationwide. Dr. Sania Nishtar, Gavi's chief executive officer, expressed concerns on Thursday about the cholera situation in Nigeria via her X handle. She stressed Gavi's readiness to assist Nigeria in responding to the outbreak. Dr. Nishar said the global cholera stockpile, which Gavi funds, is currently fully replenished and ready to help contain outbreaks and protect those at the highest risk. Meanwhile, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention recently announced it had activated the Emergency Operations Center to address the outbreak. Dr. Jide Idris, the Director General of the NCDC, said the EOC would coordinate the nationwide response, support affected states, and facilitate rapid communication, data analysis, and decision-making processes. He added it will ensure efficient deployment of needed resources, strengthen surveillance and diagnostic capacities, enhance case management and training, and intensify public awareness and community engagement activities.
Right, there you have the stories for you on the front burner today, and I'd like to open the phone lines right now and have Nigerians call in while we give you a recap of the stories that we have on today's front burner. We started with this one. President Tinubu, United States, condemned horrific Borno blast, mourn victims.
All right, please continue.
And we also brought to you story saying on the same attack, 2 female suicide bombers arrested after the deadly Borno blast. Story goes on. We have the issue of the cholera outbreak. We're drinking, according to a report, drinking unsafe water aids cholera outbreak in Nigeria, according to experts. That's especially in Lagos, southwest Nigeria, where the report was made. And on the front burner as well, is talking about the cholera outbreak. Yes, is it a rescue or is it cause for concern? Cholera outbreak, federal government, Gavi, are partnering on vaccine donation. I know, we've been talking about the issue of vaccines in the past, the experience we had with COVID-19, and now we see the threat that was posed by mRNA vaccines. Many experts have come out to say are not vaccines, but more like there's another name being given to it, which I don't quite recall, but anything that does not convey unto you protection from a virus, then it certainly is not a vaccine. And many have said, look, these vaccines are, they're actually DNA gene therapy, yes, more like gene therapy, and you need to read that up. It really raises cause for concern. But I'm not saying that the vaccines now that Gavi is bringing is not safe by that. It does call for a lot of scrutiny based on what happened during COVID-19, which is now coming out. We've seen videos of the famed Dr. Anthony Fauci, who was part of the proponents and protagonists of the COVID-19 vaccine on scientific vaccine regimes, now is in the dock. Many are calling for its head because of thousands, millions of people who have died as a result of those vaccines and on unscientific COVID-19 protocols. So I do wish our government would tread with care, especially coming from Gavi. The support is coming from Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation have been called out in different parts of the world, especially in Africa, for issue concerning vaccines and alleged population control. But we have a call coming from Emeka. Hello, Emeka. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, my brother.
Yeah, how is Benin Republic today?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Go ahead.
Hello.
Please
good
go
morning.
ahead.
Yeah. We keep showing every time we are talking about insecurity. During the time of Buhari, Buhari said he's going to finish Boko Haram. Till now, Buhari has never finished Boko Haram. People enter 8 years. That means
oh dear. Emeka, the network is not helping us.
How they are the security in the Republic? In 2 seconds, if your car turns, stop. Before 2 seconds, police will around to guide you. That is how small country like Benin is doing. Since I've entered Benin, there's nothing like the Android, there's nothing like it, there's security. Everything like today, nothing like this small country, for God's sake. Okay, see the effect of Corona. Why does not be Corona? In the Republic here, we have pump have meter. Every month you pay. And to Nigeria, through I can for me, I've never, in my heart, where I did, I opened borehole. How can a country, the end of Africa, be suffering of all these things? See people, see what they are drinking. I have traveled to 3 or 4 African countries. I've never seen this kind of food. Why Nigeria? Why Nigeria? We say the end of Africa. We say there is money, there is nothing, but they cannot utilize it. Not I get them is the problem. How to utilize it? You can get 1 naira. Somebody get 1 million, but the one that get 1 naira is sufficient to say, how to maintain it. That's the problem of Nigeria. They are going to carry billions of naira into their pocket.
Okay.
So God will punish them one day.
Right,
they don't know that God is looking for them.
All right,
now,
Emeka, it's fine.
Let us pray violence against this people.
Calm down, Emeka, calm down. I know you have every right to be upset, but please, let's not be making unguarded statements or allegations and they just want to put money in their pocket. These are people's lives that have been lost. I do believe the government really would want to resolve this issue, to solve any reasonable government. Any government that is worth its mettle should be glad to put an end to insecurity, because if I dare say, if government cannot end insecurity, it hasn't achieved anything. Because without peace, there can't be prosperity. Right now, innocent lives are being lost. The abominable atrocities are being perpetrated by these terrorists. I mean, look at the story saying a woman strapped with a baby behind her back, carrying an improvised explosive device and detonates it. I mean, this is the extent to which these people who have lost their humanity are willing to go. But the point is, we must meet them halfway. We also must meet them with the resolve to tackle this head on. We must put aside politics, put our sentiments. We must deal with this thing head on. Why have we failed over the years? Why have successive governments failed to tackle the issue of insecurity? It is not in our DNA. It is not organic. I dare say this thing has been imported into Nigeria. The question is how our leaders are looking at the solution, looking at the source of the problem. It was, I know during the Jonathan era, it was said it was a northern problem. Now it's all over, like a cancer, like gangrene. It has gone into every part of the country. And with it, almost even in the federal capital territory, the seat of power, where the president is not immune from all of this. So I believe the administration would want to make sure to put an end to this. It would be a befitting legacy for the Tinubu administration to say, we ended insecurity.
It would
so,
be,
yeah.
but, you know, it is how he's going to go about it. That is what counts. I'm particularly concerned about the fact that two, perhaps more, of these suicide bombers were female.
All of four.
They were all four of them were female.
There were 30 females, actually.
30 females.
30
so that
females.
tells you something. That tells you that whatever happened to them, maybe they were brainwashed, maybe they were tricked into thinking, you know, if you pull the device, something, or maybe they were given, maybe they were coerced into doing that. Maybe they were made several kinds of promises of taking care of family members, or maybe some family members are being held hostage and they have to do it in order to secure the release. Whatever the reasons are, it just tells you how precarious a situation that we found ourselves in, because I can tell you there probably might be more where that came from. And we shouldn't even think for 1 second that this is something that is happening in the hinterlands only. It's at the grassroots level. Don't forget that people are also being recruited online.
You know why?
There'll
be more even now, because a lot of things are working against the government. First of all, is heightened poverty. This administration came and met multi-dimensional poverty, and I would really have wished to say that they have caused that to recede, but it doesn't look like. More Nigerians have been pushed into poverty lately in the last 1 year than we had in the past. So that is going to also be a fertile ground for these terrorists to harvest. You know, young people who are looking for, you know, way to make ends meet, way to make their families meet. Now we see on television, we see Nigerians being rescued from Ghana, from different parts of Africa, who have gone to look for greener pastures and fall prey, you know, to a racket, you know, slave ring, slave cartel, you know, in different parts of Africa. So the situation has gotten worse. So how is the government, my question is, how is this administration going to solve this issue in the midst of this problem that it has, you know, has created more poverty among Nigerians? As with the story we brought to you, the issue about cholera now, and that Nigerians can hardly even get potable drinking water. They can't even buy a sachet of water. We have a call from Jos. Good morning. Hello?
Hello?
Okay, please talk to us when it comes
Hello.
to this. Okay, hello, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes, I'm just watching your program, and
Thank
I
you.
felt the problem of insecurity in Nigeria has to be tackled with just two things. One, if we can drop religious sentiment and tribal sentiment, it will go a good way for us. Two, America made a statement. He said Boko Haram, when Israel were fighting, he said Hamas cannot be wiped out totally. That is a fact. And that is where the issue of religious and tribal sentiment comes, because those people are within us. If you harbor them and we don't expose them, we can never defeat them. That is just the truth. We can never. Because if today I touch from my area in the state, they will say, this one is from my place. It will cover that particular element. Tomorrow it will go ahead. So just two things, religious sentiment and tribal sentiment. Forget about the individual sentiment. If we can drop those two sentiments, this one is a Muslim, this one is a Christian, we can drop it. Look at as far back as after 60, after the independence, we have Muslims, we have Christians. We have them. But when the wrong is done, if the wrong is exposed, no matter who you are, how placed you are, it is exposed. And that is why in those days, when an armed robber is captured, they will say, which way did he come from? They will bring his people and they will disgrace him. And from there, that village will be ashamed to see that they have anybody that is bad. But today, it is not like that, because we have strictly believed that religion has taken over everything. If you talk this side, you say, no, this one, they are trying to intimidate my religion. This one, that is the cause of insecurity in Nigeria. But only God will see us through.
Thank you,
The only
Daniel.
thing we need is to pray.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Daniel. Daniel has raised, given some salient points here, talking about there shouldn't be no sentiments to this. We must espouse, we must, how do you call it, remove the issue of tribal or, whatever religious sentiment in all of this. We must, whoever they are in society, we must expose them, if we really want to bring an end to this. But, let's not forget, insecurity is a global issue. There is a global dimension to what is happening. There have been some analysts who allude that Nigeria is a target, because Nigeria is so critical in the scheme of things. We know that the president of the Senate, Honorable Godswill Akpabio, did make an allusion some time ago that some of these perpetrators are not Nigerians, and I want to agree with him to an extent. Some of these perpetrators are not Nigerians. They've come into this country to destabilize, and I think that question I need to push to the government. Nigerians, know yourself. Know how critical you are in the scheme of things. Mandela did say, if Nigeria does not earn the respect of the world, Africa will never, get that respect. So Nigeria is very critical in the scheme of things. Some have said that Nigeria will be a failed state in time to come, but those prophecies, those doomsday prophecies have not come to pass. This nation has continued to be resilient, and, and in spite of all our challenges, we have tried to move on. I think we can overcome this if we all come together. If we all put aside our sentiments and put our hands on deck, we can defeat this demon of insecurity that is ravaging the country right now. Our politicians have a lot to do, Zoe. They do.
But I just want to make reference to one of the things you've said, which then brings us to the question, how good of a job are we doing in securing our borders? If these people, if majority of these perpetrators are not Nigerian and they're coming from outside, what happens to guarding? How well are we safeguarding our borders? Do we still have situations where people can just stroll into our country unchecked? We don't know who they are, we don't know where they're coming from, we don't know what their mission is. They just saunter into the country, and before you know it, you begin to have settlements of people who are actually in the country illegally and fermenting all kinds of problems. So these are some of the issues that we must begin to look at critically in dealing with the issue of insecurity. Where is this coming from? It is a global phenomenon, but there's also a source. So how good of a job are we doing in quelling that source?
I watched a video of the late Ambassador Maita Masuli of blessed memory, where he was narrating his ordeals. I think Nigeria was going through difficult times then, and they went to the United Nations and they were seeking for help for Nigeria. And he said that many of those that they spoke with from the West said, look, we're not interested in solving Nigeria's problems. If Nigeria is left to itself, if Nigeria is left, to itself, like Japan was left to itself, like China was left to itself, Nigeria would become a superpower if left to itself for at least 20 years. So what we find right now is there's a deliberate attempt to destabilize Nigeria. You can take that to the bank. But I'm saying this because we all love this country, and I believe that our leaders should wake up and understand that the stakes are high right now, and the dimension of warfare taking place is not the one where they will drop a bomb or they'll come to you directly. It's time. There is a kind of warfare coming from diplomacy and giving you Greek gifts. And our indebtedness really doesn't help. It puts us in a very difficult position, and our leaders must come to understand, as like the president of the African Development Bank said, look, these debts cannot, borrowing with your resources cannot help you. It puts you in a very compromised position. I think it's time for our leaders to begin to look inwards and begin to say, how do we solve our problems? Say, no one can solve your problems, only Nigerians. Nigerians can solve the problem of Nigeria. Absolutely. And that is the truth. We must begin to look inwards. Running to the West, or running to America, running to United Kingdom. They're even envying you and even want what you have. So back to the issue of insecurity. Previous administrations have failed. We begin to look at why did they fail? Why were they not able to solve this problem? And one thing I see is like the reaction coming from Atiku Abubakar is really really disappointing to me, because you're supposed to be helping this administration to succeed. You fail to win. You fail to win the election. Well, that's not everything. Now it's time for you to prove that Nigeria is missing a leader by showing that, look, you are in support of, getting the nation back on track. Now you're coming to seize every opportunity that an administration sees every opportunity to flay an administration, to criticize, to mudsling. It really doesn't help. Okay, we have a call from Nasarawa. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yes, please.
In fact, this your program, I'm enjoying the program this morning.
Thank you so much.
My conclusion, what Daniel just said is truth. But there's one that I didn't believe from these our politicians. They keep on telling us that those people are foreigners. Foreigners, yes, the letter they said they repented. They integrated with them, they give them UC jobs. How can we bring foreigners and give them jobs where our own people didn't get work? You see, so these people are just, they're not telling us the truth. They're not telling us the truth. They just keep on deceiving us. So, because I cannot see a country where people are terrorizing instead of persecute them. Do not persecute them. They rather say that they have repented. They give them work. And up to today, they keep on saying that they are arresting terrorists. We have never for one day seen where they were persecuted. Or just every day. That's how, and they are raising havoc on us all the time. And they're not doing anything about it. So my own history, our politicians, they should rise up and do the needful. They should do the right thing. They should stop deceiving us. Thank you. That is my take.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you
for calling. We want to give you a recap of the stories, and since many of you are still harping on the issue of insecurity, which is very, very critical, we had other stories here on the front burner. Tinubu, US condemn horrific Borno blast, mourn victims. Yes, in a connection with that story as well, 2 female suicide bombers were arrested after deadly Borno blast. That's after 4 had detonated their bombs, 2 were arrested. So security operators really have swung into action. We also had drinking unsafe water, AIDS, cholera outbreak in Nigeria, and that's what the government is saying. This from Lagos State, and the question is, what do people do? They don't have potable water. Is government pointing to its failure to provide, potable water in an area, in a state that is more or less surrounded by water? That is a big, big question, Potable water is not available. Sachet water that was the cheapest source of pure drinkable water is now beyond the reach of the ordinary man. So where do they run to? That is the question. Where do they run to? And we'll have federal government, Gavi, partnering on vaccine donation. And I said, vaccines, here we go again. Do you recall what happened with COVID-19? Please tread with caution. That's all I'm asking. Let us interrogate. What are these vaccines? What are in them? It's time for us to begin to develop our own vaccines. Must we always run to outsiders for help? The government must be proactive. It is sad that such a great nation like Nigeria really doesn't produce its own vaccines. I think that is something we should look into, Zoe.
That was the very first question I asked myself when I saw that news story, and I thought to myself, like, haven't we come of age? Why can't we come up with our own homegrown solutions? Why do we always think that what's coming from the West is the best? Why do it's a mentality that has robbed us rather of so much creativity and innovation, you know, because we always think it's better coming from there. Not to mention the monies that come with it, you know, the funding that comes alongside with some of these
funding,
some of these
inducements. That's
right?
the word.
Inducements. So we were very quick to accept things coming, accept drugs.
Let's not forget that Gavi is not giving you free, right?
It's never free. It may look free, but at the end of the day, there will be a price to be paid.
You're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
You're going to pay
for it. And then I asked myself also the question that, they've probably been working really, really fast, because all of a sudden we're beginning to see vaccines for everything.
Everything.
We have vaccines for malaria. Now we have vaccines for cholera. Wow. So I guess we'll perhaps one day have very soon, who knows, have vaccines for headache.
I'm just thinking, you know, so okay, you don't want to take COVID vaccines. Okay, don't worry, we'll catch you somewhere else. We'll take you, or let's produce the malaria. Okay, is it COVID that is your problem? Okay, don't worry. We'll leave that.
What we're saying is that it's not the first time, you know, that we've had a cholera outbreak in the country, and that this is not to, you know, make light of the situation. What we're saying is that we know where the shoe pinches. By now, we should have been able to come up with a solution, you know, whether it's pharmaceutical or otherwise.
Oh yes, alternative
medicine to deal with the situation. Why are we waiting for vaccines from outside to come and deal with the problem that is, you know, that is
so what if you're at war? What if your country, you were at war, and those who were supposed to be your allies turned against you? Would you depend on them for health, where health could have been weaponized? You know, these are the questions. I mean, the COVID-19 experience should get our leaders thinking. If if the virus was created in Wuhan, according to reports, this is verifiable. It's all out there. It was created in Wuhan, and that has been ascertained that it was a bioweapon. So the question is, now that we understand that health could be weaponized, shouldn't we begin to think that, look, how do we defend ourselves? How do we protect ourselves? What if, like what happened during COVID, the African leaders went begging for vaccines all over the country? The South African leader, Ramaphosa, bemoaned the fact that Africa was the last on the mind of globalists to send vaccines to, and they had to grapple with, the COVID-19 challenge. Doesn't that tell you that it's time for you to begin to build your own internal defense?
And let's not forget that a good number of those vaccines were destroyed.
Okay, we have a call from Nasarawa State. Good morning. Okay, Eboyin. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I'm Prince calling from Eboyin.
Thank you, Prince, for calling us. Please go ahead.
I wish to contribute to your program this morning.
You are contributing.
I wish to say Happy New Month before doing that.
Yeah, Happy New Month, Prince.
Go ahead.
The bomb blast at Boronu is another hit on its own to the whole country. I wish to say that all these things boil down to incapacitated leadership. You talk about the cholera, not access to good water. All those things boil down to incapacitated leadership. I don't think blaming Atiku will be the best idea. If you prove yourself in your profession or in your promises, there won't be anyone to fight you or try to scatter what you're doing. What we should advocate for is let our politicians, our leaders, do what they tell us at the cost of their election campaign. Not when you tell us this, you come doing the other one. Talking about what the African Development Bank personnel said, is still brought back to incapacitated leadership. So we should be looking at these things In the Western world, when you make your promises during campaign, they hold you to your promises. But here in Africa, sometimes we dance on sentiment and forget all these things because they are already in our top. So I think that is the problem we have.
Okay.
Not just looking at other things. Okay, we are talking about vaccine now. The vaccine you are talking about, are we not supposed to be producing vaccine for ourselves? We have people that have acquired knowledge to do this, but the opportunity is not given. Note that if the opportunity is given to them and the facilities are made, it will be another source of employment to the masses. So we should think out of the box and start helping ourselves.
Certainly.
Since we know that nobody can help us.
Certainly, Prince.
Thank you.
Certainly,
Thank you,
Prince.
Thank you for that.
Definitely on point there. We need to start thinking for ourselves, and that's the way to go. Total independence. Yes, well, we should be, we should have something to offer, not just crude, how do you put it, raw materials. We should be able to, provide finished products. We should be able to engage, at a higher level than saying, come and, help us, looking as if we are, totally incapacitated. We must move beyond that. We must lead. Talking about Africa, we must lead. We must take back the place that, the pride of place Nigeria had in the 60s. As the pride of Africa, we must be our leaders. And it's not just about them alone, it's about us as well. As you said, as the last caller didn't make, that statement that we must hold our leaders accountable. We must demand the things that they have promised to provide. Like, for instance, you're saying cholera now is as a result of a failure of a system. The issue of no potable water. And we remember, I grew up, as a young boy, then I would go to the tap, turn on the tap, and water would be coming out, and I would drink from the tap, Zoe. I'm glad that, that I lived in that era where water was running through our taps, and all of a sudden everything went dry. It went dry because we allowed it to. We allowed it. We allowed leaders to lie to us. We allowed them to make excuses. And we must begin to hold them. Because when you say a leader should, I watched as Biden, in doing his campaign, visited a shop. People start shaking his hand. Nobody stood up to shake him because he's a servant. He's been appointed to serve. Okay, we have a call. Good morning. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
All right. Victor, talk to us.
I'm Victor Nomogo, calling from Delta State.
All right, talk to us, Victor.
Yeah. You see, the last person that called in was saying something about, very, very interesting, very, very good. But later on, there's a point I'm not okay with it. You see, this leadership quality we are saying, we are fond of pointing at the man on top. The man on top is from us. We, our children, our siblings, our brothers and sisters. Nigerians, the individual Nigerians, need to build up his own leadership quality. Don't start pointing at those crabs that we have just sent there. Before they got there, they would bribed us before we took them there. We have to see ourselves as the leaders. Imagine in my town in Ogara now, the people will just put POS symbol, half of the road, they'll block the road with the walkway, and even the roadside, they'll block it with POS signboard. Nobody is standing there. Okay. You see, for example, we have hello?
Yes, go on.
Hello? Yeah, we have these structures on ground who are not following them. For example, our national anthem. Look at our national anthem now. If we can be reciting them every morning, every home, every shop, every private institute, every government issue. When you come in the morning, you recite the national anthem. Nigeria will hail their home, their native land. Though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Nigerians all are proud to serve our sovereign motherland. If we can be reciting that every morning, I think that spirit of patriotism, it will build that in us. So what I'm really saying in a nutshell is that
let the individual Nigerians build up the leadership quality before they start pointing fingers at the at the person they sent there who like ironically settled us, bribed us to get there.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Victor. Thank you, Victor. I think that will be our last caller. Yeah, Victor, just reiterating what I said. I don't think any leader worth his mettle will be criticizing the man sitting on the hot seat, you know, just to, how do you call it, to score points from it. At this time, the nation is in a very, very, you know, critical point, a serious situation. People are mourning, and you're using that opportunity to castigate, to condemn, to criticize, to pull down. I think it is wrong. It's a wrong strategy, you know, to show that you'd be a better person in that position. I think it's an opportunity for you to say, what can I do? How can I help? You know, because this is all about us. It's not just about one person. It's about Nigeria. And so we must do whatever it takes. So if you're a leader, you're not there, you should be doing something to help those who are there.
Absolutely.
You know, so that's my humble take on that matter. And Zoe, you have anything to say before we go?
Just very quickly. So remaining relevant, you know, in what you said, just remain relevant. If you can't help the situation, then you're not very much relevant either. If you're just casting aspersions on what everybody else is doing, what is your
You're not doing anything different.
You're not doing anything different. You're not doing anything to bring about a solution. You're just criticizing. Anybody can do that. So what? So
Nigerians, take a cue from that. Don't be fooled, okay, by those who say, I would have been the best leader. Look at what the antecedents are. You definitely know if they were the right person to be there. Well, that's where we leave the discussion today on the front burner. I do appreciate all of you who called us this morning to share your thoughts, to take this discussion further. I certainly hope that Nigeria will overcome its challenges in Jesus' name. So we'll leave it there. We'll thank you once more. We'll take a break. When we come back, we're looking at the issue of data privacy and data breach. Very, very important thing in this time where data is the oil of the future. So if your data is compromised, how serious is that? Join us again.
Ellen 24/7 is first of all a news station.
Well, we'll continue with updates from the just concluded governorship
in the southeast has raised questions if INEC will be able to conduct elections.
With a core team of over 40 correspondents spread across Nigeria.
Nigeria is set to take its place.
The unions of aviation workers are out here protesting.
And affiliates in Africa, Europe, America, and Asia. We give you news as it breaks from the perspective you can trust. Ellen 24/7 News, where the story goes, we go.
Ellen 24/7 lights up your day with unbeatable shows that guarantees absolute access to stories that revolves around politics, entertainment, and sports. Breaking news, plus detailed reports and analysis. At Ellen 24/7, where the story goes, we go.
All right, thanks for joining us on this side of the program. It's looking at pace setters. Who are the pace setters on today's edition of This Morning? Well, the pace setter, we're joined by a lady. No, it's not a lady. It's a lady, right? Okay, and today we're joined by the face behind PETIF. Okay, as you can see, Lee Usher. She is the face behind PETIF, a non-governmental organization with a mission to use education, trainings, and empowerment as key drivers to eradicate poverty in Nigeria and Africa. Now, Lee Usher, an awe-inspiring African leader from the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. She has, through her organization, become a voice and an answer to vulnerable indigents within her reach. Lee Usher, good morning and thank you for joining us on Pacesetters.
Good morning. Good morning. Hi.
Great to see you. Great to see you. And I want to say, commend you for what you're doing. Great job. You know, whenever we talk about indigent people, we know how challenging that can be because, you know, it's like they keep taking and keep taking and keep taking, and you never know when the cycle will change when they start giving. So there's no, you have no warning as to, is it going to take a week, a month before you create your first independent? But can you tell us what is the meaning and what inspired you to start this NGO, PATIF?
Good morning. All right, so PATIF, it's the acronym for Poverty Eradication through Education and Empowerment Foundation. My husband and I birthed this NGO due to, like I said, to eradicate poverty in Nigeria and Africa as a whole, giving back to the society. You know, PATIF was the deep need to provide empowerment mentorship. You know, a couple of years with young people, and we have seen for not just a lot of times routes or handouts, but we realize that it's better to teach them how to fish than just to give them fish for a day. So that was why we bettered PATIF, and we believe that we can actually, you know, eradicate poverty in Nigeria and Africa. Africans and Nigerians are not lazy people. They are very hardworking people. But a lot of times people either do not have the relevant skills, or they may have skills but do not understand the business around the skills. So that's why we have born out of a deep education, empowerment and mentorship for better living and poverty eradication. You see, poverty is a state of the mind, and we must, I believe that we must reach into the minds of the poor and needy, you know, and the least opportune through education, through capacity building, to expose them to capacity building and opportunities for sustainable livelihood. So that's why we started PATIF, and in a short time, like you said, cycle never end. Well, we are very keep giving, and we know that next time we're going to see lots of results. We're already seeing results actually of what we have been doing, and coincidentally today is our 1-year anniversary as an organization.
Fantastic. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, I would love to know what your structure is like. You know, how exactly does it work? Do you have volunteers? Do you meet the people one-on-one? How do you map out communities, for instance? You know, how do you know, like what are the kind of topics or subjects that these trainings evolve? You know, give us a picture of the structure of your NGO.
Okay. Thank you. It's so interesting that you're asking about our structures, because structure is important for sustainability. For us in PATIF, we actually have staff. We have staff. We have permanent staff. Yeah. We have project managers. We have supervisors. We have logistics. We have administrative officers. We have a branch manager. And whenever we have a project we're carrying out in particular communities, yes, we have volunteers. It is so, you know, the issue of volunteering is so important because and they're mostly young people. It gives them the opportunity to be able to give back and to learn to give back. And also, when we're carrying out, when we go into communities to carry out projects, we engage members of the community. It is always so interesting. Let me start with how we map communities, and then I go back to how we engage members of the communities to help give back. So we look out for, like here in the FCT, carried out a lot of our work. There are communities where you have people. If you see the way people live, the state of their livelihood, it's very heartbreaking. And that is a lot of our manpower as a nation, and I know it cuts all across Africa. You have people living in slums. We have lots of slums, even right here in the FCT. You need to see the state where people live. So if we look at these communities like that, most of them have quite a number of young people or children in those communities. So we haven't even started scratching the surface, and we've done a lot actually. So imagine how much more there is to do. So we map out communities like this, and then we go into these communities to look at what is needed most in communities like that. For instance, we had a training recently in a community called Kagini, or the one you were just showing right now is a community in Lugbe Axis called Tunduwada. It's actually a very large community, and that is a school, it's their own school. But we saw that there was a need to help them because these people were only doing what they could do. Their classrooms were in very bad shape, and we decided as an organization to go in there, renovate classrooms for them, put, to even help the mindset of the students who attend the school to know that they are able to compete with students from anywhere else in the world. After all, they get to write the same exams. And the impact of the renovation of that classroom in that community was actually astounding. To hear the testimonies come out of the school, the students thinking that, oh, I can actually read now and understand. So we go into communities like that, we engage the members of the community to also partner with us, helping us carrying out the projects. And we don't just actually are volunteers. And by the time we are done, we begin to engage them also as volunteers and to help to mentor them to give back also. So that's what we do. For structures, yes, we have staff, permanent staff members, and we have volunteers for every community we go to. Thank you so much.
Interesting. All right, Henry.
All right, tell us, it's ironic, you are a non-governmental organization, a non-profit, run a non-profit. Government is providing you with more customers than before, like with more indigent people through its policies and friendly and healthy policies. We're seeing now have churned out more poverty right now, more than ever before.
Yeah.
How do you stay afloat? Because people ask that question. A lot of people are scared to get into that, put their foot in that water because they don't know how deep it is. So how did you what gave you the courage to go into this, and how have you managed to stay afloat over the years?
Okay, so interestingly, let me maybe a shocker. PECTIF is self-funded. We do not get funds from the government. We do not get funds from any donors outside Africa or outside Nigeria. So let me explain. We have a lot of potential in this country, and if you do not have a passion to help the needy or to help the young people, you might not be able to sustain it. So PECTIF, like I said before, is born out of a deep passion. For us, it's not even a question because a lot of our income, whatever we earn as individuals, my husband and I, go into funding this organization. And it's something that we do with joy. Now for sustainability, we believe, and we are already seeing the result, that as we mentor, train those people in the society, equip them with different skills, they are able to earn and also give back. So what we have been able to start is a cycle or a circle that we know it will go on and on. We do not see it ending anytime soon. So staying afloat for us is not even a question. We are very committed to giving our resources to helping Nigerian parents come out of poverty. Very satisfying. See, like recently we had a training in a community called Kagini, and we had this women, we go to communities like that, we go into we engage the head of the communities, maybe the local chiefs or the heads, whatever structures they have. And we trained these women in soap making, pastry making, hairdressing. It was so satisfying to see them, and after the training we empowered them, we gave them some produce and some of the things they needed to start a business. So we don't just give them the training, we also teach them the business around that skill they have acquired. So it was so satisfying to see these women send feedback to us, send videos, send pictures, and thank us to say, I'm actually earning now to be able to help my family. For us, that is really, really satisfying. And apart from the training, we also train them to become trainers in their own communities. So we
Okay, breaking transmission there. Certainly hope we'll get her back very soon. Love to hear what she has to say. So, but it's impressive, you know, passion.
Indeed.
A lot of people, wow.
What you could tell that it is almost like a calling, because few people would put in their personal resources or their personal monies, you know, just to sort of help empower other people if there's nothing in it for them. So you can clearly see that this is a vision, call it a calling. And you know, like I was going to ask, despite the fact that currently it's being self-funded, like she told us, are they open to collaboration? Are they open to partnerships? Like, are they willing to team up with maybe other similar NGOs or, you know, bodies or organizations that have a similar vision, something
That's
like
very
that?
key, because I think, you know, when government is talking about social safety nets, I mean, trying to alleviate, you know, the burden and the pain of Nigerians, especially in these times, by giving out 50,000 naira to about some million people. I would think that these are kind of organizations you'll be working with, because government has give us a blueprint on how they intend to disperse or you know, distribute this money equitably, and what is the criteria for identifying those who are in extreme situations that need this intervention.
Indeed.
These are the boxes that I expect that government to tick for us, you know, because we've seen in the past during the Buhari administration, as much as, you know, the money that said was distributed to, you know, to alleviate poverty alleviation and that, even within my sphere of your community, did you get anybody saying, I got this money or I didn't get this money? You know, it's still, you know, a mystery how this money was distributed. So that is a big, you know, issue for me, and I think that organizations like this should be, you know, working with governments. Because they are on ground. They are on ground.
And then you also reach
they are
more
on ground, and they are apolitic. You know, apolitic. They are not APC,
based on which party affiliations
PDP, you know. So because there have been allegations, there have been allusions that, look, those who get these monies are those who are, you know, party faithfuls and all of that, like it has happened in the past. You know, so I'm not saying that is what will happen, but, you know, we need to actually make this process very transparent so that we can open the books and we can make, you know, we can account for, you know, funds that have been dispersed. Like in the past, we could not account for it. So I certainly hope that we'll get Petit back. Petit Brack, is that
Lee Osha.
Yeah, the name of
Lee
Osha Petit.
CEO of Petit.
Yeah, so I wish we get her back. You know, we have quite you know, a lot of questions to pose to her about her foundation. It's quite interesting, you know, what she's doing. There are a lot of Nigerians like that who are putting in their own funds.
Just to see society improve, become better than what it is, because ultimately you and I will reap of a society that is empowered to do, you know, make impacts. Ultimately it will come back to you, and you know, just having people who are focused on that and who are committed to that, it's very commendable.
This is what the likes of former Vice President you know, Atiku Abubakar should be doing. You know, showing us, the initiatives that, he's working on, how, he's empowering Nigerians here and there, how he's actually bridging the gaps. These are the positives Nigerians want to see. When you come on, national newspaper or television and you are bashing government, I think it makes you look very small.
Petty
yeah,
is the word.
I'm trying to be, very careful about using my words. It makes you look very small, and I'm sure, he can do better than that.
I believe he
there's
can.
There's so much he can accomplish. That will say, look, this is the man. All right, and so we certainly hope that we can get Leosha back, to share her thoughts on this matter. Why did the internet have to break, Zoe? Why?
I have no idea. But very quickly, I think that part of a formidable opposition, or part of what it entails. Yes, it's good to call out, where you feel things are not going right and what should be done. The current administration, just to put them on their feet and keep them busy. But also, it also entails showing example. What would you do in that situation? How would you go about solving that problem? What are you doing currently to try to help or try to solve the problem? These are parts of what it entails to be a formidable opposition. So I think we need to understand that more clearly.
Okay.
Do we have her back?
She's back for you.
Oh, great, great.
All right, welcome back.
I'm so sorry.
Okay, it is well.
I'm so sorry. My network was acting up.
Okay, great to have you back. And as time winds down, Zoe, you want to
Yes,
ask
I wanted to ask, while you were off, so obviously you talked about the fact that your organization is self-funded, and that tells me immediately that you're committed, that it's probably a calling, probably a vision, and that's why you are committed to doing this, in spite of the fact that you are using your personal funds to do this. My question is, are you open to collaboration? Are you open to partnerships with like-minded organizations, if you will, or maybe even government agencies who are about empowering communities at that level, using education like your organization also does? So is there any inclination towards partnerships and collaborations, just to amplify what you're doing? You will always achieve more when you have more input.
Yes, thank you so much. Yes, of course, we are open to partnerships with, like you stated, like-minded organizations. For us, it's very important that whoever we partner with aligns with our vision and our principles as an organization. So, of course, we know that when we have partnership and other people partner with us, is able to amplify what we are doing. We're able to reach more people. We're able to get more people. For instance, in January this year, we had scholarships for students in tertiary education, primary schools and secondary schools, and helped to pay the registration fees for some of the external examinations. When we put out the call for applications, we had so many applicants, like much more than we could cater for at that time. So yes, we are open to partnerships, which is important. But one point I really want to make with us, especially in Africa and in Nigeria, is that we do not always need to sit down and wait for foreign nations or organizations to come us. The truth is, only Nigerians and Africans can save Africans. And there's a whole lot we can do if we look inwards at, as a people. You can start small. Like you said, it's a calling, of course, it's a calling, it's a deep need. It's something that we know that we could not be happier doing, and as an organization. It doesn't matter that we are giving out. Like, of course, we are giving out, so it's not like we are earning any monies from this. But I believe that in the nearest future, we'll look back at this generation or the people that have been empowered and then we see their progress, and it will bring a lot of joy and gladness to us. And apart from that, we are mentoring people who are able to give back to the society. These are people who are going to change Nigeria and Africa in the not so distant future.
You know, Lee, what you're doing is something very courageous, especially when you don't have a financial war chest somewhere where you just, or a tree somewhere, you just go and pluck money and, you know, the tree keeps, you know, sprouting, you know, money. So it's really something impressive. It is encouraging, you know, that people like you are still in these climbs, you know, in spite of all the challenges we are facing. Now, how can, because we cannot talk about this without involving government, because they actually can make your work easier or make it more difficult. Now, we've seen government saying they're trying to intervene with financial, social safety nets, you know, for some Nigerians. I feel you know, organizations like you should be the channels in which some of these funds are disbursed. What do you think government can do better if it's really sincere about alleviating poverty? What do you think it should be doing? Because this is an avenue, an opportunity for government to also actually get some very valuable advice from those who are in the trenches, those who are doing the footwork.
Thank you so much for that question. If the government is really serious about eradicating poverty, first of all, I think apart from partnering with organizations like ours that is out there, you know, really carrying out the work, they need to engage with those grassroots. You know, the government could. What's the government? You know, they could really. Eradicating doesn't take place in the office. You need to engage with those on the grassroots. You need to come up with policies that are beneficial to young people, and especially to look at the educational policy. Now, you saw the classroom we renovated. We have calls from several schools asking us to help them maybe renovate their classrooms. I do a lot of work in schools. Some of the pictures are even too heartbreaking to be put out there. You go to schools, you see students sitting on the floor to learn. What kind of future are you building with kids? What kind of mindset are you giving children like that? Sitting on the floor, sitting on stones to learn. No libraries, no books. Children with no proper uniforms. So that's what PETIF does. We go into schools like this. Sometimes we buy uniforms for these students. We get benches for them to sit. So if the government is really serious about eradicating poverty, partner with organizations like us, work with those in the grassroots, look at the educational policy, give attention to education and to building skills and capacity amongst young people in Nigeria. If the government is really serious, there's a whole lot of money I know that government assigns to some of these things, but we don't really see it in the lives of the people. And I think that if the government look at some of these things I've outlined, they will see more impact, you know, in the lives of the people they want to eradicate poverty from. You know, have institutions where skills are taught. Have schools for carpentry. I know we have some of them, but we need to build more in the country. Carpentry, handwork, you need to teach. Not everybody might want to go through the university. In fact, what are we even taught in the 90s? Most of the universities in Nigeria and Africa teach us just to be administrators. What are we going to administer if there's nothing to administer when we come out? So most people leave university, come out looking for a job. So create organizations and institutions where people can be taught skills, capacity building, even masons. You can have schools for brick making, masons, carpentry, you know, all manner of skills. People go through those institutions, they come out, and they are able to start off immediately and give back to the society. Thank you so much. I think that's so important for us to look at.
All right, thank you so much, Zoe. All right, I believe you've told us what young people, you know, should be doing at this time, how they should actually position their minds, because this is a battle that is taking place in the mind. I think it starts first there and probably might end there with situations. What we see really doesn't determine our experience, right?
Yes, exactly. So when we had our first ever summit, when we started as an organization, one of the trainings I teach the young people when we bring them together is mind management. And most times when we ask for impact reports, they always tell me those sessions have been the most impactful for them, because that, you know, the capacity of the human mind is endless. There is absolutely nothing we cannot achieve. And a trained mind is very important. That's why, like I said when I started, poverty is a state of the mind. So it's important that the young people are taught to put their minds to great use. And there has to be a mind shift in Africa. So that's one of our priorities, you know. Yes, please.
Thank you so much, Leosha. You said so much, and yes, that should be a punchline. There has to be a mind shift in Africa. A mind shift among our leaders, a mind shift among the young people, and your circumstance does not determine your, you know, final destination. So thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us, and we definitely wish the best.
Thank you for having me.
You know, we really wish the PETIF will do more and become a global organization, an organization that a lot of people will have good memories about. Thank you so much. Okay, I think she's gone there. Well, that's one Nigerian, you know, just not about her own comfort, but going about seeing that others succeed. And that is what we should all be about. You know, that is the only way to get us from where we are to where we want to be. We need more Nigerians like that, who are selfless, you know, passionate, and definitely patriotic. Well, we'll leave it at that for now. We'll take a break. When we come back at that discussion, we talked about Nigeria's ID system, data breach and privacy concerns. Will be coming up right after now. Stay with us.
Ellen 24/7 is first of all a news station.
Well, we'll continue with updates from the just concluded governorship
in the southeast has raised questions if INEC will be able to conduct elections.
With a full team of over 40 correspondents spread across Nigeria.
Nigeria is set to take its place.
The unions of aviation workers are out here protesting.
And affiliates in Africa, Europe, America, and Asia. We give you news as it breaks from the perspective you can trust.
Ellen 24/7 News, where the story goes, we go.
What makes the political system what it is today? What are the recurring issues? Order. The tussle for power.
An extremely problematic area.
The tension. The instability of the system. Join Ellen 24/7 as we take you inside the local and international political arena in the world of politics.
Apologize for saying that I was corrupt.
I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
Watch politics now on Ellen 24/7.
Don't miss Politics Now on Ellen 24/7.
right, great to have you back. You're still watching This Morning, and time for our second discussion, which revolves around Nigeria's ID system, data breach and privacy concerns. Now, just to give you a backdrop to this discussion, last week, Gbenga Sheson, Executive Director of Paradigm Initiative, revealed that his organization bought Minister Bosun Tijani's national identification number, name slip, for just 100 naira. Now, Sheson said this while explaining a data breach and privacy concern with Nigeria's vulnerable identification database on News Central Television. Now, still on this discussion, response of the minister says National Identity Management Commission, NIMC, or the commission wishes to debunk the exposure of sensitive data of Nigerian citizens as it concerns the commission amongst many other data collection agencies, as alleged by a report. Now, the minister apparently has retracted that. In his statement on X, he says, first, I have engaged my colleague, Minister of Interior, who supervises the National Identity Management Commission, NIMC, and I am aware that his ministry and the agency are on top of the matter. Now, the minister said a year-old agency under my supervision as minister has over the last few months created data compliance mechanisms for all MDAs and has since started a thorough investigation as to circumstances surrounding the alleged breach, having established that I do believe that it is important to share proactive steps. It is important not to share proactive steps which have been taken upon my appointment to help strengthen technology application in government. Despite historical siloed approach to procurement and development. Well, that's Minister making that statement on his X handle. Well, interestingly, a week ago, before then, a private website had unrestricted access to a national identification number and personal details of every registered Nigerian. And according to a report by the FIJ, this website had monetized the recovery of names and personal information on the Nigerian Identification Database. The website and the National Identity Management Commission, NIMC, are yet to tell the FIJ, according to the report, what relationship both entities have. And more facts on this website will be coming as I introduce my guest and gentleman that actually did that story from the Foundation for Investigative Journalism and Social Justice. His name is Joseph Adeye. Joseph, thank you for joining us on This Morning.
Great having you here.
Nice to be here.
Yeah, so I managed to navigate through all that, you know, that conundrum. Also, we have, for this discussion, we have a cyber security expert joining us via video call, Damilola Enikan Oselu, Cisco Tapestry with over 8 years hands-on cybersecurity experience and expertise. Damilola, great to have you this morning.
Nice to have you. Thank you.
Fantastic. So let me start with you, Joseph. Can you share, bring us up to speed at how this happened, before, how we got here?
Yeah. All right. So in March, a friend of mine, a close friend, wanted to retrieve a lost phone number. She reached out to me to help with retrieving the phone number. I had a few leads to what happened. She's my friend, so I had a couple of phone numbers, but she wanted to be sure. So she said the number was linked to her NIN. So she did a few checks online, okay, how to check my NIN, how to find my NIN with NIMC. She couldn't get through with that, so someone suggested why not just go out? There are these kiosks or these vendors in kiosks around Lagos who you could pay them some money and then they would retrieve the NIN and your phone number. So she did. This was around the time we had the network problems.
How long ago was this?
Match.
Okay.
Match. So underwater cables, cuts, and we didn't have great network connectivity, so it was slower to get transfers, it was slower to browse the web. So she tried with the vendors, and then they wanted 1,000 naira from her. Give us 1,000 naira, we'll get your NIN and your lost phone number. So she gave them the money. They could not get it because the network was bad.
Okay.
But in the time they tried, she peeped at their screen and she saw the website. So she took her money,
at their screen
yes,
and saw the website.
So she memorized the website, and then she went, like she returned home. Then she told me, there's a website we couldn't get through, but I think I can get my lost phone number from this website. So I took the website from the URL, that's the website address from her, and I checked, and truly I found her phone number, I found her NIN. I tried to check my NIN, I found my NIN. I checked some of my colleagues' NINs. I saw their NINs, and not just their NINs, I saw their passport photographs, I saw tracking ID, address, home address, other phone numbers, anything linked, yes, that the National Identity Management Commission, NIMSI, every data that they collect from you to register your NIN, it's right there on the page. And then you just need maybe a phone number or like a list of demographics, maybe just your name, your address, and then they would get your NIN and every other bit of information you've submitted to NIMSI on this website. So the problem with this website was they were doing NIMSI's job. They had our data, they were giving it to us for a fee, and they did not care who was asking for the data. And now you have to understand that the data is sensitive.
There was no screening on who?
There was no screening whatsoever. So they just asked you to register. So long as you are willing to pay, you can pay, and you can check as many NINs and as many Nigerian identification details as you want, so long as you pay. And it was just for 200 naira per session.
Just for 200 naira?
Yes. I kept paying 200 naira, my data, my friends' data, my colleagues' data. I tried with my boss.
Did you check for the minister's data? Maybe you should have checked.
At the time, I wasn't really concerned about digging into maybe info of public officials, but I just wanted to confirm that this was working and there was no restriction. And I did that, and I found out that okay, there was no restriction. This is sensitive data. Anyone could get this, and there are no barriers. So I sent a message. I also sent an email to NIMSI. I told them, do you know that this is happening? Do you know these people? Do you know Express Verify? There was no response. Please tell us what your relationship is with Express Verify, because they have our data. This is basically our identification data, right? It's like you. Yes, it's basically you. People can use it to impersonate you. People can use it to harm you.
It's as good as you losing your phone, right?
It's as good as you losing your SIM card.
Your SIM card, yes. Your
yes.
SIM card,
so if you lose your phone, no, it's not bad enough.
That's
but
what I'm
if you lose your SIM card, it can be. So it was more like NIMSI took our data. They are in charge of. By the way, NIMSI Act 2007 mandates NIMSI to create, manage, and operate.
Only.
Yes.
Only NIMSI.
Only NIMSI to create, manage, and operate the National Identity Database. Now, the database is where we pour all of our data, right? Sensitive, non-sensitive, we pour everything in it. And it seems that NIMSI has downloaded all of our data to probably an offline data bank or a cloud storage that has now been breached. So someone else has downloaded our data, like our database, basically, and then they use multiple websites to sell the data that they fetch from the database they've already got from NIMSI to every other Nigerian and every other entity that wants this data. That is a major problem. That is a breach.
That's interesting. That is very interesting. And for us who are not, tech literate on the implications of this, we have Joseph, we have, Damilola Oselu, who's joining us right now, cybersecurity expert. Damilola, you are the expert in the issues of data security and all of that. Can you share with us the implication of this, what it means for, the data of Nigerians to be, accessible to anybody in a climb when we're told by experts that data is the new oil?
Okay, thank you. So with respect to everyone's data being easily accessible, that's naturally an high-risk endeavor. So what I mean by that is when everybody has all of these data, remember it has your date of birth, it has your public address, it has your phone number, it even has a picture of you. So now, let me paint a scenario. In a situation where a malicious person gains access to that, he or she can use that to apply for loans in your name. He or she can. There are a lot of loan vendors online these days that are very, very easy. You just need to put in those details, and you would already have debt in someone else's name, and the person might not even be aware that someone has used his or her details to get loan from whatever financial institutions that are out there. That's one. The other part is the fact that that data is usually could be used in a number of ways, not only malicious ways. It could even be used to impersonate you, not only in terms of gaining monetary value. It could be used to impersonate you, and then that puts your life at risk. It can also be used to monitor your movement, or tie it back to where your origin comes from or hailed from, maybe your family members, and that way a threat actor or a malicious person can use that data. It's more like a reconnaissance, an information gathering, where he or she has that data to work with, and he or she, which is the threat actor in this case, or the malicious person, can then weaponize and perform something that is even much more deadly than just having access to your data, because that person has all of the information. So this can also be used as phishing, because they already have access to your details, not just loans. They can even use it to phish people that are around you, or people that would ask for those data just to verify that you are who you say you are, and then that can even lead to sophisticated attacks, phishing and all that, because they have those data available. So the other thing that I also wanted to talk or to say about is, at times it is not necessarily a download of a database. It could probably be through API calls. It could be through API calls, and there are supposed to be restrictions around third-party vendors or people that are data organizations that are data processors. NIMC is the sole data controller in this regard, but there are a lot of, let's say, for instance, fintechs, financial institutions and telcos, which plug into the database, into the NIMC database, to fetch those information for financial purposes, for KYC purposes, based on the Apex Bank mandating that all of these firms do KYC. But in a situation where those data are easily accessible, then the threat is, you can think of anything. If you have someone's data, someone's assets, you can, manipulate a lot of things without the consent of the person. But one is a loan scam.
You're making us uneasy right now. I'd like you to stop for a while. You're making us uneasy. Let me go to Joseph. Joseph, is that website still up? That website in which you found Nigerians' data, is it still up? So maybe I could just ask Damilola to check up on it or something.
Okay, so there are multiple websites.
Okay.
Express Verify was the first. We blew the whistle on Express Verify. We actually broke the news on this data breach with Express Verify. And the day we broke the news and Mr. Bosun Tijani was made aware of it, someone else sent a message to the web host. Now, the web host took that website down. 3 months later, we had another website doing the same thing, anyverify.com.ng. They took that website down too. NIMSI came out after the story was published to then respond to our questions that these websites are not connected to us. They are not our third-party vendors. We don't know them. They are data harvesters. And we should steer clear of them. So NIMSI could not even handle these websites. It was the web hosts who decided to take down those websites. So once you flag them, the web host takes it down. They check they check maybe search engines, and then they see reports published about these websites, and then they take the websites down. So they are not online, but there are some others that are online, but they are working under the radar. So it's more like now it's other people's job. Like it's other people's jobs to go after these websites, when in fact it's the Nigeria Data Protection Commission's job to track these things.
Of responsibility of actually, going after these guys who have our data.
Yes, and 3 days ago, a deputy director of strategy at NIMSI, one Mr. Alvan Ikoku, told Arise TV that NIMSI is not responsible for any breach. They do not know what we are talking about. We are maybe sensationalizing the situation. What he failed to address was the fact that he told Arise that, yes, we have third-party vendors, recognized third-party vendors, and we give them 72 hours to access data. Now you're telling your third-party vendors, oh, you have 72 hours to check the database and pull out whatever data you want, right? And that access stays open for 72 hours. It stays open for 3 days. You don't know what happens in those 3 days, because it was asked that, is that not more than enough time for people to compromise our data, to steal it, to keep it? And he said, oh, well, maybe that's something we have to look into. But NIMSI would like us to believe that they have absolutely no responsibility for this breach. It is a breach.
Wow. That's really, really reassuring, isn't it? Well, let me go to Damilola. Damilola, in climes when some guests have alluded to some government agencies still sending their emails with Yahoo and Gmail. How can Nigerians be better protected, or what should we do at this climb? What are we faced with? Does the government actually know how critical this matter is?
Well, I believe that the government knows how critical this matter is, but they probably choose to not prioritize it, I believe. With respect to, so when you say Yahoo and Gmail, those, I believe Yahoo and Gmail are free email services, which I would say should not be used in anything corporate affairs. I mean, if you're working in a corporation, it should be a paid email vendor, like Microsoft Office 365, Zoho Mail. I think Gmail also have the paid vendor where you have more control, and then through an admin would have all of the logs in place, and you have proper control over it. So using a free email service like Yahoo and Gmail for for official purposes should not be the way. But what I've seen, in banks, in fintechs, they basically use a lot of Office 365, Microsoft Office 365, and that's something that is good, because you're using something that you're paying for, at least it is a paid service, and you have proper control through an enterprise admin. That means you have access to logs, and you can do, your SPF, DMARC, email filtering, and some phishing guardrails that you can put in place with respect to that. But if you're using a free service, you do not have all those services included in them, especially something that will do email filtering through your DMARC and through your SPF details and all that, which will deter or would help you reduce the risk of falling for phishing, phishing attempts and all that. So if they are using a paid service like Microsoft Office 365 and the G Suite or the paid version of Gmail, that reduces the risk a lot of, it reduces a lot of risk in that context, and you would have what we call an enterprise admin who will be responsible for, fetching the logs and doing some settings, some configurations that will make every user within the context of the enterprise much more secure and less prone to phishing attempts or phishing attacks in that case.
Well, Damilola, we'll be going for a break, but I'd love us to we'll draw something from your experience as a cybersecurity expert, what Nigerians should do at this time. Are Nigerians helpless? Is there any, is there any solution? Is there any proactive step that Nigerians can take to actually protect their data at this time, to ensure that they are not being cloned or the issue of impersonation comes up? How do they protect themselves? Joseph, please stay with us. We'll be going for a quick break. We'll bring news at the top of the hour. When we come back, we'll be coming back to round up this discussion. Stay with us.
Ellen 24/7 is first of all a news station.
We'll continue with updates from the just concluded governorship
in the southeast has raised questions if INEC will be able to conduct elections.
With a core team of over 40 correspondents spread across Nigeria.
Nigeria is set to take its place.
The unions of aviation workers are out here protesting.
And affiliates in Africa, Europe, America, and Asia. We give you news as it breaks from the perspective you can trust.
Ellen 24/7 News, where the story goes, we go.
Stay up to date with Ellen 24/7. Ellen 24/7. With news, politics, business, sports, and more on Ellen 24/7, where the story goes, we go.
All right, great to have you back. It's time to give you a news update at the top of the hour. Nigeria President Bola Tinubu has condemned Saturday's suicide bomb blast in Borno State, describing it as a desperate act of terror. 18 people were killed when 4 suicide bombers set off improvised explosive devices in Gwoza, the northeastern state. Hours later, the presidency issued a statement commiserating with the victims' families as the Borno State government in a statement on Sunday. The presidential spokesman Ajurin Galale conveyed the president's condolence message. Tinubu said the purveyors of wanton violence should have a certain encounter with justice, and that these cowardly attacks are only but an isolated episode, as his government will not allow the nation to slither into an era of fear, tears, sorrow and blood. Commander-in-Chief maintained that his administration is taking necessary measures to secure citizens, stressing that efforts will be redoubled to ensure that those who trouble the nation, dispatching precious lives and disrupting law and order, are completely removed. Meanwhile, 2 female suicide bombers have been arrested in Borno State, northeast Nigeria, in connection with the detonation of improvised explosive devices in Goza. Authorities said Sunday. A local government official who confirmed this to local news TV said 30 of the female suicide bombers were sent into Goza to detonate the improvised explosive devices at different locations within the area. According to the source, only 4 suicide bombers exploded, and she explained that one of the female bombers that came from Polka Axis was responding to military interrogation at the checkpoint when she panicked and detonated the IED, killing herself, the soldier, and a civilian JTF member. It was gathered that the women got into Goza from different locations, some from Polka and others from Mandara Mountains. The attack, one of the deadliest reported in the state in recent months, injured more than 30 persons. The degree of injuries ranges from abdominal ruptures to skull and limb fractures. The Director General of SEMA, Burkindo Saidu, said he witnessed the first blast. The survivor said the first bomber was carrying a baby on her back when she stormed the venue and detonated the IED. As people gathered to bury those killed at the wedding, Saidu said a third bomber, a lady, detonated another IED with a lot of casualties. While emergency officials were in the hospital coordinating the rescue mission, a 4th blast was set off by a female teenager. Saidu said 18 deaths comprise children, adult males, females, and pregnant women. 19 seriously injured were conveyed to Maiduguri in 4 ambulances. The military has imposed a curfew in Goza local government area in the wake of the attacks. In the meantime, Boko Haram insurgents have contributed to the rise of out-of-school children in 3 northeast states of Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe, with about 72% of school children not being able to read simply text after grade 6. Now, this is according to the Permanent Commissioner of Borno State Universal Basic Education Board, Subeb Sadiq Abdullah, who disclosed this at a meeting to disseminate the MOU among the stakeholders under the Save the Children project held in Kano. The meeting attracted representatives of the Ministry of Education, SUBEB, the Federation of Women Lawyers, and the Ministry of Women Affairs across Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe states.
Issue of Boko Haram, which vandalized every aspect of life. All schools were vandalized. Even several teachers were killed. How much more of their words? They are displaced. Parents are displaced. Several children left school. Several are squatting. And the Borno State took the bull by the horn in helping it.
The essence is to sustain the tempo and sustain the commitment in giving education to all, especially with gender concern, and also looking at people who's disadvantaged as a result of disabilities, and the children of the poor, to see how we can fill the gap, to ensure that everybody, all children are not left behind, that everybody has the right to education.
The Ministry of Women Affairs, we are always ready to see and ensure that children from Borno State get access to good school, good environment, and very healthy living condition, to ensure that all children have knowledge and go to good education where they are all protected from all harm within and outside school environments.
Before the MOU was drafted by the stakeholders, there was an initial assessment that was conducted within the implementing schools of ECW, where we asked children in schools questions around the abuse that they've been facing, and what are also the recommendations that they have to address those issues and as well prevent abuse, because we don't even want it to happen. And we also engage with community stakeholders, which include the community leaders, religious leaders, and parents of the children in school, as well their teachers, to give us some responses on the abuse that occurs in school, and as well some of the preventive measures that we need to take to ensure that this does not happen to children.
And on the international scene, France has held the first round of an early parliamentary election on Sunday that could bring in the country's far-right government. The second round is on the 7th of July, and the outcome of the vote remains highly uncertain. Three major political blocs are competing: the far-right National Rally, President Emmanuel Macron's centrist alliance, and the new Popular Front coalition that includes center-left, Greens, and hard-left forces in the face of far-right's crushing victory in the European Parliament election earlier this month. Macron called on an early vote in France because he otherwise feared the results would lead to paralysis in the legislature. The outcome of the two-round election could impact European financial markets, Western support for Ukraine, and how France's nuclear arsenal and global military force are managed. In business, President Bola Tinubu has signed an executive order to introduce zero tariffs, excise duties, and value-added tax on imported pharmaceutical inputs. In the statement, Muhammad Ali Pate, coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, said the order is to revitalize the Nigerian health sector and increase production of healthcare products. Pate has said the order is crucial to the success of the initiative for unlocking the healthcare value chain, which was approved in October 2023 by the President, according to the Minister. The order mandates collaboration among the Ministers of Health, Finance, as well as Industry, Trade and Investment to develop a harmonized implementation framework, expediting regulatory approvals and reducing bottlenecks. He further thanked President Tinubu for his courage and commitment to ensure Nigeria is put back on the path of prosperity. 20 detainees, some accused of terrorism, staged a prison break in Pakistan, administered Kashmir on Sunday. Officials say, adding that one was killed in the crossfire during the escape. The inmates had a revolver that they used to hold a sentry hostage, said Radia Munir, an official with the Regional Ministry of Interior. Munir added it is unclear whether they seized it from the jail officials or if it was brought in from outside. The incident took place at the Punch District Jail in Rawalakot, a city about 110 kilometers south of Muzaffarabad, the capital of Pakistan, administered Kashmir. The Inspector General of Kashmir Prisons, Wahid Ali Gilani, told newsmen in total 20 people escaped from the prison. One was killed in the crossfire, while 19 others remain at large. Prisons in Pakistan are notorious for overcrowding, poor conditions, corruption, and human rights violations. Additionally, slow judicial processes contribute to prolonged stay for prisoners. Well, that's it on our news update. Do stay with us on LN 24/7 for more updates at the top of the hour. Will join us again for this morning as we discuss the data breach and protection right after now.
Stay up to date with LN 24/7. LN 24/7. With news, politics, business, sports, and more on LN 24/7. Where the story goes, we go.
LN 24/7 is first of all a news station.
We'll continue with updates from the just concluded governorship
in the southeast has raised questions if INEC will be able to conduct elections.
With a core team of over 40 correspondents spread across Nigeria.
Nigeria is set to take its place.
The unions of aviation workers are out here protesting.
And affiliates in Africa, Europe, America, and Asia. We give you news as it breaks from the perspective you can trust.
LN 24/7 News. Where the story goes, we go.
All right, great to have you back. You're still watching This Morning on LN 24/7. And before we went for that news break, we're talking about Nigeria's ID system, data breach and privacy concerns against the backdrop of a recent report, National Identity Management Commission, and the exposure of Nigerians' sensitive data. Joining me is my guest from the Foundation for Investigative Journalism, who carried the story. His name is, beg your pardon, Joseph Adeye, senior reporter at the Foundation, and he has been sharing his thoughts on how the whole issue started and transpired. We also have joining us via video call Damilola Enikan Oselu. He's a cybersecurity expert, bring his perspective and experience to the implication of this breach. Zoe, quite very alarming if you ask me, and I don't know what to say anymore, because
I want to ask Joseph, the entire breach. Now, when you talk to us about how NIMSI said that they had given access to some third-party vendors, does that not in itself speak to the fact that we are not adequately equipped? So how would you, what do you have to say to the readiness, our readiness to even store data? Like, are we prepared? Do we have the right infrastructure for public storage if we now have to give some third-party vendors or some other people the right to access people's data and then begin to dispense as they see fit? So what have you to say about that structure?
Well, I would say your question would be best answered by NIMSI themselves. But I would say one thing: it's clear that they alone cannot handle it at the moment. Although it's a bit disappointing because the NIMSI Act, it's called the NIMSI Act 2007. So this has been a long time coming. It's a journey since 2007.
I think we should be trying to establish if that act has been breached. If it has been breached, what next is the next steps to take?
Well, normally the act gives NIMSI a mandate. It also tells NIMSI what to do, what not to do, and what will happen if it fails to do some of what it's meant to do. Now, NIMSI is not out of line to employ partners, or maybe what they would call third-party, would we call them vendors now? They also have partners in telco, like Dami has said, and it is necessary because telcos would need our data, banks would need our data, but I think NIMSI has failed to manage the database, and it has failed to protect. It has. Now, this is not just about accusing the government. I get the body language of the ministers. The minister who is in charge, right? Yes, they are defensive. Now, the minister who is in charge of overseeing NIMSI is the Minister of Interior. His name is, I think, Tunji Olubunmi Ojo. He and the Ministry of Interior are in charge of NIMSI, right? And he hasn't really said much about this breach and what's going on. NIMSI has come out to defend itself twice, immediately after we published in March, and about 2 weeks ago when NIVerify came out again. And NIMSI's stance is, we have not caused this and there is no breach, right? They first say there is no breach, then they go on to say we have not caused this. So you have not caused what? A breach, but you claim there is no breach. Now, we have proof that people's NINs can be seen without any barrier, without any, from outsiders. Now, not just your third-party vendors. Now, these unauthorized users are checking it out. They have access to your database. What is that if not a breach? And if you want to really address this issue, you need to be a bit more transparent with Nigerians. This is a serious issue. we understand that they are trying to control the narrative, and maybe I would give them the benefit of the doubt that, okay, maybe they are trying to make sure people don't panic. But this is not just about controlling the reaction of Nigerians. Now, it's about being truthful to us, letting us better understand the situation so that we can be better equipped to know where we stand and how to handle maybe when something happens. Last week, the Lagos State House of Assembly Speaker, we found out that his phone was hacked. His phone number, his actual phone number, was hijacked. Now, this is the Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly. His phone number was hijacked, and the person who hijacked his phone number has been parading as Mudashiru Obasa, the Speaker. And he has been asking people for money, he has been inviting people for phantom events and trying to dupe people. Now, how many victims this person has, we do not know. The Speaker's office had to then put out a statement to say, look, the Speaker's phone number was hacked, and it's embarrassing. And this is not just, and that's just a high-level official. The minister the minister who is meant to be in charge of tech, right, Bosun Tijani, Paradigm Initiative, bought his NIN for 100 naira. Now, NIMSI is claiming that we are the ones giving our data to people to manipulate, but that's not the case, because Bosun Tijani didn't give his data to anyone to manipulate. I didn't give my data to anyone, and it's proven. Exactly. So now this is problematic, and we have to be more transparent.
All right, Joseph, thank you. Zoe wants to pose a question to Damilola.
A question. Thank you for joining us again. Okay, so the federal government has come out to say that they were going to probe, they were going to investigate this breach and everything that has happened. And I'd like to ask you, do you think as part of their investigation they should look more closely into exchange of data across agencies? I'm talking about the fact that we have several agencies that collect our data from FRSC for our driver's license, to banks, our BVN, to NIMSI itself, which is our national identity number.
Can it be traced if these guys got the data?
Yeah, and so there's exchange across agencies. What do we have to say about that? Could that not contribute to breaches like we've just seen?
Yes, I believe it can ultimately contribute to breaches, but the only thing that that shocks me is what Joseph said about the data being open for 72 hours. Normally, the way it should work, if they have a proper data architecture, is if you want to fetch a data from a data store, which is a database, you ultimately need a token, an identifier token. Now, that token is supposed to be a random, a random character of, like, let's say 32 string, or it could be alphanumeric, a number that doesn't follow the pattern, right? If you are supposed, then that number, that pattern, that number, that token is supposed to be an identifier. If it's FIRC, if it's UBA, if it's FCMB, whatever type of bank that needs to use that data, they provide, it's just a GET request with the token, then NIMC responds with that data that they need at that point in time, right? That's how it's supposed to be, and all of this takes 1 to 2 seconds. You send a request with that, it's just an API request, you send that, get a response. There's no need for it to be open for 72 hours. And that token would be, it would be unique to the organization. UBA has its own FRSC, or, for driver's license, or even the passport office, they will also have their own token for retrieving all of this information, right? There should be a certain data store that is controlled by NIMC, not that everyone pulls the data and then stores it, and, that basically complicates the issue. It just broadens the horizon of how the breach could happen. Now, it's going to be very difficult to trace, because a lot of government parastatals and third-party vendors are, pulling those data, without proper identity, I will say if it's open for 72 hours. Now, if it's open for 72 hours, that means others can also go there if they know how to call the data, and they pull it, they download it into a cloud or an offline data store, and they can sell it. Now, one thing that I believe they should do is, they should have an API protection in place, API security protection in place, where, it scrutinizes who's making the request. This person or this entity that is making the request, is he or she authorized to, fetch this data and then denies the person if it doesn't meet the criteria. I don't know how NIMC or how these parastatals, how they set up their database and the APIs that calls or that pulls information from the database, but that's one of the ways where I feel they might come short. The other one is proper scrutiny. Whatever third-party data processors or data collectors, they need to, scrutinize them on how they give their license, or before giving their license.
Damilola,
before giving
it's obvious we're here already. There's no need crying over spilt milk, okay? So is there any evasive action Nigerians can take? Because I don't really know about NIMC right now. We must take care of ourselves. It seems Nigerians have always been known to take care of themselves. What can we do? What kind of evasive action? Is there anything we can do, or do we throw our hands up in total exasperation here?
Well, the only thing I think we can do as Nigerians is be aware of your data, and we should probably be always on the lookout for those kind of organizations or those kind of websites that sell data for 100 naira or 200, because ultimately we as Nigerians cannot say we will not provide that data when we are asked. For instance, if you want to renew your passport, they will ask for that data, and if you do not give them, you cannot renew your passport. The same thing if you want to, if you want to renew your driver's license, or even if you want to open an account in bank, you will be asked, and that is because the government mandates that, they do KYC and you have to give them that data. But what we as Nigerians can do is we continually look out for those kind of websites and report them to close them down. But where the guardrails or where the protection needs to be placed is at, the owners of the data, or where the data is stored. That's NIMC or these data processors. But we as a Nigerian, or we as the common mass, I don't think we can do a lot, because when we are asked, we will always provide it.
Thank you for being so nice and diplomatic, telling us that we are helpless in this situation, more or less. Well, Joseph, thank you so much, for bringing this up and sharing, all your thoughts with us. Final, what do you think Nigerians should, do? Is there a point where we need to legally engage NIMC on it, forthcoming on, on the truth on this matter? We should just sit on our hands and wait for NIMC to come forth with, information on this?
Well, I know that NIMC has been challenged legally. After Paradigm Initiative found out about NVerify, because when we published the story, the first story that broke the news in March, Paradigm Initiative reached out and told us, oh, we are into data policies and protection, and we would like to follow up. That was what they said. And by following up, they found NVerify. And so they were like, okay, FIJ saw this first, and then we still see more websites like this, so we are going to sue. So at the moment, there is a pre-action notice that has been served to NIMC and to the Nigeria Data Protection Commission, to I think the CBN, the Attorney General's office. They have a pre-action letter right now, and there are a few demands linked to the NIMC Act and to the Data Protection Act of Nigeria. I just have to say that the government at this point does not need to take the business as usual approach of trying to cover things up. They have to be as transparent as possible. I've said this a couple of times now. It doesn't matter if the Commission is going to be embarrassed by what we find. It is about protecting us.
And a learning curve as well.
And exactly, and it's going to serve as a learning curve. So we need to understand what weakness is. Now, NDPC is charged with investigating issues like this. Now, they can investigate, and as Mr. Bosun Tijani has said, he said he doesn't need to, or they don't have to tell the public everything they are checking, which is wise. But when your investigation is done, you must let the public know. You must let us understand how dire the situation is, what the loopholes actually were, and what we are currently doing to make it better.
Fantastic, and yeah, good place to leave that discussion. Yeah, we're seeing how this will pan out. Yes, Joseph has pointed out, this is not an attempt at bashing a government agency. It's about, doing the right thing, keeping those you serve in the know of what is happening and what action should be taken at the end of the day. We certainly hope that NIMSI will come forth with its investigation when it is complete, so that Nigerians will know the level of compromise and definitely chart a new way forward in protecting valuable data of Nigerians. I want to say a big thank you to my guest, Joseph Adey, investigative journalist from Foundation for Investigative Journalism. Thank you so much. Been great having you on the program. And yes, Damilola Enikan Oselu, thank you for your thoughts, and certainly hope we'll have another opportunity to bring you back on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you, guys. All right, we'll leave it there. When we come back, well, we have a bumper package for you today. We'll be talking about the PPP, private-public partnership, and how it aids development. And our guest, you've met him so many times, has a lot to share with us. So don't go away. We'll be right back in a moment.
Ellen 24/7 is first of all a news station.
Well, we'll continue with updates from the just concluded governorship
in the southeast has raised questions if INEC will be able to conduct elections.
With a core team of over 40 correspondents spread across Nigeria.
Nigeria is set to take its place.
The unions of aviation workers are out here protesting.
And affiliates in Africa, Europe, America, and Asia. We give you news as it breaks from the perspective you can trust.
Ellen 24/7 News, where the story goes, we go.
Ellen 24/7 lights up your day with unbeatable shows that guarantees absolute access to stories that revolves around politics, entertainment, and sports. Breaking news, plus detailed reports and analysis. At Ellen 24/7, where the story goes, we go.
What makes the political system what it is today? What are the recurring issues? Order. The tussle for power.
An extremely problematic area.
The tension. The instability of the system. Join Ellen 24/7 as we take you inside the local and international political arena in the world of politics.
apologize for saying that I was corrupt.
I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
Watch Politics now on LN 24/7.
Don't miss Politics Now on LN 24/7.
Oh, great to have you back. Great to know that you're still here with us, you know, since we started 7 a.m. this morning. We're still moving, and yes, our final discussion on this morning, taking you back to the topic that we started about 2 weeks ago, talking about the role of public-private partnership in governance. It's very, very important. Governance is key on our hearts today. And I have the pleasure of having to join me in the studios, Barrister Adebisi Shogunle, the writer of the book. And that book, which has become somewhat of my Bible recently, you know, I was reading it yesterday at the side of my bed, and I promised I would bring it to, you know, work and open some of the pages. I actually left it at home, you can imagine. But I did manage to glean some of the things that really caught my interest. Well, first of all, let me say welcome to Barrister Shogunle. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's nice to be back here.
Look fantastic, sir. Very sharp. And yes, ready to, you know, enlighten us, ready to, you know, shed more light on this very critical topic, the role of public-private partnership. I would love to enjoin Barrister, you know, we did deal with chapter 8, which he told me to read, and I did read it again, and I found that chapter 8 is really loaded. What attracted me was stakeholders in the PPP arrangements and contracts. Now, it's public sector is very key, okay, in the success of a PPP arrangement, because there are political, economic and administrative concerns that may arise. Now, we had this slide prepared, okay? The public sector conditions for successful PPP arrangement. And you can see very clearly there, formulation of a PPP policy framework, creation of an enabling environment, establishment of administrative mechanism, promotion of good governance, and addressing social and political concerns. And these are the issues I want, you know, Barrister to quickly, you know, in a nutshell, deal with one after the other, starting with the formulation of a PPP policy framework. I believe we have...
Okay, let me propose. Yeah. Let's lay a very beautiful ground rule.
Okay.
You know, hostility to the private sector by the public sector in any given environment is a recipe for underdevelopment, is also a recipe for poverty. The private sector is so crucial to the economic growth of any geographical environment.
Yeah.
Can you ask yourself, why is it that you have companies that locate their headquarters in what they call tax haven all over the world?
That's an interesting one.
What makes them to go to a tax haven?
It's like bees to honey, right?
Beautiful. So when you talk about the first one in your slide,
okay, the formulation of
a policy.
Policy.
Yes, it's one thing for you to formulate a policy. I can assure you there are many public-private partnership laws in Nigeria.
In Nigeria?
Yes. In 2019, Ogun State promulgated their own, they enacted it, and it was a better version of what Lagos State did earlier.
Okay.
You know, because they put clauses there that allows for arbitration if there is any issue between the public sector proponent and the private sector proponent. Instead of you going to court, you do arbitration. Because private sector will prefer to solve their problem outside the court system.
That's interesting.
Because the court system wastes time. the court system makes it very difficult for you to ventilate issues.
Arbitration is like a special, court or a special.
It's a window.
A window okay.
For dispute resolution.
Resolution, okay.
Which is faster.
And time saves money too as well.
It may be costlier.
Okay.
But it's faster. But in business, time is money. So, and everything needs to run with time. Then it's also private. Arbitration is not public. So most of the thing is...
It will not be in front of newspapers.
It's not be in front of newspapers. We can decide the kind of arbitration procedure we want to use, and issues they are more business-like.
Okay.
Then you can also get subject matter experts to come and be your arbitrator. Unlike
we call them negotiators.
No. A judge. Let me give you an example. A judge that has a career as a public prosecutor.
Okay.
In the state Ministry of Justice. That is, he dealt all his life with criminal trials.
Okay.
So he became a DPP. Then from DPP he became a judge. When you give him businesses like this, cases that has to do with PPP, he's going to struggle.
I get your point.
Its foundation is criminal prosecution. So PPP is a specialized type of practice, where if there is any problem, you need subject matter experts.
Okay.
Even at the federal level, there is the ICRC Act, Infrastructural Commission Regulation something Act, the ICRC Act, and that ICRC Act is in 2015.
Okay.
It was enacted in 2015, which allows the federal government to embark on PPP transaction, public-private partnership. Then I told you about Presidential Order 007 of 2019, which allows tax credit. So, and many states now, in fact, you'll be amazed that a state like Plateau State, they have a very, very well written PPP law. But how do they take advantage of it is the challenge.
That's another ball.
So it's only for you to have the law. It's another thing for you to have the political will to make sure that the terms of those laws are followed.
Okay.
Cross River State has PPP law, and their PPP law has a lot of very beautiful clauses. But I found out,
which you've been able to test according to your
it's not really testing. You see, okay, take for example Ogun State. In Ogun State, they have part of their PPP model in their law is rehabilitate, operate, and transfer. RET.
Okay.
Now, if those in charge, if they understood what rehabilitate means, all the companies they set up, the industry they set up that belongs to the state, that are lying fallow, what are they supposed to do? You look for private sector player who will come in to take over, to rehabilitate it, operate it, and transfer to you after maybe 20 years.
Profitable enterprise to you.
Instead of allowing it to lie waste. Sometimes the wisdom that is needed, and I'm very careful in saying this, the wisdom that is needed to take advantage of some of the provisions in the PPP laws of many states is not in their civil servants. Yes. And the public service people...
So you're saying some of these states are a gold mine for PPP?
Yes. Okay,
I'm sure
why will you have abattoirs that you have built that are not functioning? Capital tie down. Why don't you just look for a private sector person who is going to be interested?
Good one.
And just hand it over to him. Let him rehabilitate it. Let him start operating it. Even if he's not giving you direct money, his rehabilitation means that asset is not wasting.
And it's creating jobs.
His operating it means that that asset will start giving value back to the people. Then it transfers. But you see, when they prefer, okay, let it be there. So an asset that they built with maybe 30 million, 40 million, 100 million, we just waste away.
Can I draw a reference to some of the structures that were built during the time Lagos was still the capital? You find the secretariats in Ikoyi, Victoria Island, those structures that have become
the Federal Secretariat.
The Federal Secretariat, okay, where become a place for
don't go far.
Destitute.
Don't go far.
Yeah.
Okay, look at the National Stadium, Lagos.
Okay.
You know, it's an interesting.
What I'm saying is real estate.
No, don't go. Don't go far. Just look at the National Stadium in Lagos.
Very correct.
Okay. That's a wasting asset. You go to Italy, Rome specifically. The stadium in Rome was built by the state, but 2 clubs are using it. They handed it over to a private sector player who made sure that AS Roma and the club called Lazio, that's where they are using. So there is no way Stadio Olimpico can go to waste like National Stadium here in Lagos.
And such a monument of
you understand what I'm saying?
History.
Now, when you meet the government people and say hand it over, they attach emotions to it.
Which Lagos State tried to do.
The Lagos State doing Ambode when they wanted to take it up. One way or the other, the federal establishment said no. So look at that stadium now. It's a national waste. If they are not careful, Moshood Abiola Stadium in Abuja will go that route. Because if you see a stadium, a football stadium, or whatever, you know there are different stadiums now. You go to America, you see a stadium that is just for baseball,
for American football.
For American football. But I've just given you one example now.
Yeah.
I've given you one example. Stadio de Olimpico in Italy.
Yeah.
I think there's another example also in Italy. The stadium in Turin. So, you see, we have to come to the point where the private sector is allowed to help Nigeria to actualize its potential.
I like you know what you're talking about. It's very interesting. I mean, right now a light bulb has lit up, because what you have just pointed out is that there's a graveyard of enterprises that government has set up, a graveyard that private sector can move in to revive and revamp, and then create wealth for whichever nation state that enterprise resides in.
You see, wealth creation is the business of, you see, government creates enabling environment for the private sector to thrive. Check in Nigeria.
So I like that. So let's go to the slide now. It says creation of an enabling environment. This is where government comes in, creation of an enabling environment. And let's see the slide again, please, so we can know where we are now. We've talked about
this creation of an enabling environment.
Yeah.
The judiciary has an important role to play.
Okay, great.
And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
There's one of the cases I review in the book, which I told you last week. Let me tell you the case. It's the case of Attorney General of Kogi State and Attorney General of the Federation Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission. You see, this Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission is the commission of the federal government.
Okay.
Set up by the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission Act of 2015. Bureau of Public Enterprise, Ajaokuta Steel Company, National Oil Mining Company.
Okay.
Do you know what happened? I think during COVID in 2019, the federal government felt these two companies that belongs to it, Ajaokuta Steel Company and National Oil Mining Company, they are not going, nothing is happening there. So the federal government decided that, okay, they will ask for an invitation to treat, an expression of interest of those they can concession it to.
So, okay.
Private sector player who can help to turn it from the moribund state to at least working. Even if it's not, government is not making money out of it, but at least it is working, it's adding value to the economy.
And there was a problem there, wasn't it? Because
Kogi State government sued. This expression of interest was supposed to be done via, because it was during COVID, it was supposed to be done virtually.
Okay.
Kogi State government sued that they can't do it. And the judge gave another expertise that expression of interest, just tell us what you can do with these two federal government companies.
Yeah.
If you are a private sector player and you know you can do something, come and tell us. Let us hear you over the virtual meeting.
Yeah.
Because the country was, the whole world was shut down by organized gangs in the world. You know, the judge, I don't want to mention the name of the judge, his name is in history now, is in this book, gave an expertise order to stop it. What was the interest of Kogi State government in two companies that belongs to federal government, then located in Kogi State? He just stopped it. That's why I said hostility. Do you know that in that state too, there was a time the state government went to shut down the Dangote cement. The state government said they are a shareholder in Dangote cement, just because the cement factory is located inside their state.
In the state, okay.
Obviously. And said that Dangote cement is owing something, they shut it down. So if tomorrow underdevelopment is on the increase in Kogi State, people will not know.
And unemployment.
And unemployment. Because when you show hostility to private sector, when they see it,
others are watching.
Others are watching. They see the way you treated a Dangote. They see the way your governor manipulated the judicial process to harass federal government. You think a private sector player will go there? They won't go.
And so how do you connect that to the narrative that some claim that some states are not viable?
What makes a state viable? Viability of a business is a balance sheet thing.
Balance sheet.
Your revenue and your expenditure. The moment you are spending more than your revenue, you are not going to be viable.
And what about creating of an enabling environment?
If you don't create an enabling environment for revenue to come in. So you see, when you set up a state, there are certain things that you must spend. You must have a governor. You must have commissioners. You must have House of Assembly. You must expend it. So you must create an environment in your state that will bring in private sector players who will help that state to make revenue.
Okay, sir. You know, we don't have the luxury of time, so let's quickly run down this list that we have. We've done two now: establishment of an administrative mechanism, which is the third thing, and promotion of good governance, which I think we can, wrap the two up together.
Yeah, you see, what do you call administrative mechanism?
Exactly. That is the question.
Very simple. Many states have
remove bottlenecks.
They have bureau.
Okay.
They have bureau of public-private partnership.
Okay.
Some have the office of the office of PPP, office of public-private partnership. That is an administrative office.
These agencies exist in some states?
They exist in all the states that have the law.
Okay.
Oyo State has it.
Okay.
Lagos State have. Ogun State have. Cross River State have. Plateau State have. About 19 states.
Okay, that's good enough.
You see, that administrative office must be made to work.
So now, those agencies, how do they operate? Do you approach, does the private sector approach them and say, look, do you have any, projects?
That's another arrogance. There is a public sector that needs the private sector to... So they are the one to go and look for them.
Okay.
Yes!
So these guys are just collecting salary and
if you want a good staff to work in your organization, you don't do generic adverts. You go for what they call head hunting.
Good.
Is it not so?
True.
You want your state to benefit from the law you have enacted, to attract private sector into your state. Are you not supposed to go for them? So sometimes when I see them do adverts on newspaper, they are asking for people to tender. You are going to have those who are not serious. Private sector players who are not serious. I'll give you another one. You know, the other day when I came here, I told you about a road project that failed totally. Is here. Let me tell you, that road project is called Guto Bagana Road.
Where is that located?
It was supposed to be located in the following states: Kogi, and it was connect Kogi and Benue State. The federal government was involved. Kogi was involved, Benue State was involved. Two private sector players were involved. Do you know what? After federal government gave its own counterpart funding, Kogi State government gave its own counterpart funding, Benue State government gave its own counterpart funding. The so-called foreign company that is supposed to now give its counterpart funding to finish the leg did not have money. So the road was abandoned.
So how was the selection process then?
That is what I'm saying. That you see, when you say that administrative thing, if you really want private sector to play in the public sector, right, it's not by advertisement. You should know by now in our country
who the players are.
Who the players are. Who are the serious players? Who, if you gave him 10 naira and you say, I want you to do this road, you are going to need 100 naira. Go and look for the margin, 90 naira, add it to it, do it, put toll gate, tell me how many years you want to collect toll so that we will be over. You should know by now.
Good. So let's I'm sorry we didn't open the phone lines. Would have loved to get some reactions from you as we wind down. We'll be talking about the role of public-private partnership in governance. And in rounding off, just remind you of what we've been talking about, the key points for conditions for successful PP arrangement, which are formulation of a PPP policy framework, creation of an enabling environment, establishing of administrative mechanism, which Barrister has dealt with extensively, promotion of good governance, and addressing of social, political concerns.
You see, this political concern is the greatest of them all.
Let's round up with that.
You see, it's an appeal to political players not to create instability in policy formulation and policy execution. And I've used, the last time I came here, I've used the Bodo, the road between the Boni Bodo as a perfect example. Why? There was a problem. But continuity has now made it possible for that project, which was started by President Buhari, to be completed by President Tinubu. It could have been truncated if there was no political will. It could have been truncated. Many PPP transactions have been frustrated by governors who came after their predecessor and who insist that they don't know what their predecessor did. Instead of looking and finding the route to make sure that there is a continuation, they stop it. If the president, if President Tinubu has stopped this, that road construction, because there was a gap of almost 200 billion. If you say, where will I get the money?
That's true. All right, so much has been said, and I do enjoin you to get the book. Can we have the book up so that viewers can see that book? The book that talks about the PPP arrangements and how critical it is. I'd like you to see that book. Yeah, the book, A Practical Guide to Public-Private Partnership in Nigeria. That is the book.
You can see that handshake.
So yeah,
the handshake means the handshake of the private with the public. Because there must be an handshake.
This is the book, and I enjoin you. I advise that you get it. You know, I advise that you get the book. You know, it's very important that you get the book. I have been reading it, and it's quite an easy read. For one thing, I need to commend the author of the book. Simple English. Quick, you know, smooth as you like it. I can tell you that authoritatively, because you find out some books to read them is an uphill task because of the vocabulary that is being used. But a barrister breaks it down for you in simple English, and I need to commend you, sir, for that. Well done.
There is a need for you to annex the gown with the town.
Fantastic.
The book is about annexing the gown with the town.
I get that. I get that. I'll be using that in some nearer time. Getting the gown to
annex the gown with the town.
With the town. Fantastic. Well, it's been just an insightful moment with none other than Barrister Bisi Shogunle sharing his thoughts on the book. It talks of private-public partnership, a critical arrangement that can bring progress, bring development. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
It's been great having you on the morning show. That's where we'll leave it this time around. Thank you to all our viewers who joined us at the time we started the show and up till now. It's been great having you. We look forward to another experience with you bright and early tomorrow morning. My name is Henry Williams. Thanks for watching, and see you same time on the station. Bye for now.